If you are completely new to Native American flutes, I urge you to visit my website flutecraft.org, where I have free articles and tutorials explaining how they work, how you can play them, how you can actually build them from branches and wood. But basically, you have a piece, you have the flute's body, you have the air chamber inside, there's a wall here, and there's this resonance chamber here. The wall separates the air chamber from the resonance chamber, and there is a sound mechanism that basically looks like this. There's a little sloped ramp and a sound mechanism. This is called the true sound hole. There's a splitting edge that splits the air and causes it to vibrate, and this actually makes the sound. There's a piece called the block, or a bird, for obvious reason. It comes in various shapes. Every maker makes their own shapes, but basically it's meant to close the nest area. This is called the nest. Close the nest, the sound mechanism area from the top, and thus it creates a very small air channel that leads the air being blown into the flute through the true sound hole into the resonance chamber. And this piece is held down usually with some kind of string, a strap, a leather strap, something like this, but you can use anything. It doesn't have to be leather. These are actually, I'm sorry, not this one. This one is actually an eco leather. It's artificial, so no animal parts on these flutes, and I actually prefer this. So yeah. Okay, so these are my 3D printed Native American style flutes. They are made of biodegradable PLA material. They are very water resistant, and they work pretty well. Let's hear them out. And yeah, these are actually painted with miniature paints, such as where do I have this? Such as Vallejo German red brown primer, and then with Vallejo model color wood grain, and you use any kind of brush to apply the primer, or this one should actually be applied via airbrush. That's the word. And then you apply, you can apply wood grain paint, acrylic paint, using a rough painter brush, moving in one single direction. This should create the illusion of wood grain. Of course, painting is not necessary. On this flute, I used again Vallejo or Citadel paints to create the decorations. And then you can use Army Painter satin varnish to finish it, to get the glossy finish and actually protect the paint. But these are not necessary. Here's a flute, black flute. This is only filament, no paints at all. Anyway, they work, and the models are free for download. They are Creative Commons so anyone who have an access to a 3D printer can actually print them. And if you're interested in making them for sale, I do offer a commercial license via Patreon's monthly subscription. All the details will be in the description of this video and in the at the end of the video. Let's start with the basic settings. I print my flutes with the layer height set to 0.2 millimeters and wall thickness set to 0.8 millimeters. The most important settings for printing these flutes are the wall line count and the infill density. Basically, set the line count to 3 at least, as this will prevent air leaks and make the flute airtight, and set infill density to 30% to get a proper resonance for the flute. As for the temperatures and printing speed, that depends on your filament and your printer, so I won't deal with that. And make sure not to generate any supports art, as the models are designed in such a way that they require no support at all. Inside every package you will find at least 3 models. Let's load them in to take a look. And you will get the block, the end of the flute, the middle of the flute, and the front of the flute. Each piece has a slot. It's either male or female or both. The front has the female slot, the middle has the male and the female slot, and the end of the flute has the male slot only. And they are designed in such a way that they should fit each other perfectly. As for the printing, I recommend you print these one at a time. So let's load the front of the flute. And you need to print these. They come in horizontal position. You need to rotate them to vertical position, 90 degrees. Make sure you have this 90 degrees set up. And I usually like to turn these models to make sure the sun mechanism faces the front of the printer, so that the print lines are on the back of the flute. And that's it. You print the model in vertical position with no support at all, one at a time, to make sure the best quality. Of course, you can set up these models to be printed 3 at the time if you have the time, and if you have the time and your printer works well. Just make sure to have the finger holes facing front of the printer like this, and always make sure to print the male slot at the top. This way the flute will require no support at all. As for the block itself, it comes in standing position. You need to rotate it either this way or this way, so that it lays on its back. And this way the front, the bottom of the flute will be nearly perfectly straight, requiring only a little bit of sanding once it is done printing. Okay, once you print the flute, you will end up with at least 4 pieces. You will end up with the block, the front part, the middle part and the end part. Now you really need to just simply put them together. The first thing you need to notice, you need to know, is that these parts should perfectly fit each other. This is the female slot, and this is the male slot, and they should fit right like that. And if you can see this here, sorry for the lighting, the fit should be perfect. Sometimes the fit isn't perfect. For example, right here you can see a little wobble, and maybe, oh, right here, and the fit actually isn't perfect. There's something wrong with this, and I do not know if this will be visible. Right here you can see that the print isn't perfect. The filament just took a shortcut diagonally, and you can see the filament lines are just crossing across the rounded slot, and they are causing, probably they are the ones that are causing the fit problem. So I'm going to just cut them out a little bit, and then let's take some sanding paper and let's just simply sand it down, and let's see if this works. And there's still a little bit of wobble, so what you can do is simply sand down. And now it should fit a little bit better. And sometimes these slight problems, the slight issues on the inside may occur. They are caused by the printer itself, the settings, the calibration, the filament type, and these simply cannot be avoided. But as you can see on this part, the end and the middle, the fit is actually perfect. So sometimes you will get, there's actually very, very little wobble, and it works very nicely. So sometimes these little problems will happen, sometimes they won't. Sometimes you simply need to do some little sanding on these slots. The other issue you may find is that the flat area of the nest is not always flat. You may not be able to see this on the video, but there are some thicker parts on the very edges that must be sanded down very gently. Oh, sorry, very gently. Okay, that's it. Nothing else is required. Hopefully you know something about the flutes themselves. I have an entire website about flutes, so the way the sound mechanism works is described there. Now, you will also sometimes get printing errors on the flat array of the nest, and these must be sometimes cut away and sanded, or sometimes simply sanded down. So don't be afraid to do these small fixes. They sometimes happen, sometimes they don't. And again, a little bit of sanding a little bit of sanding. Very gentle. You do not want to round the bottom. It must be flat. And once this little sanding is done, the bird should fit perfectly the nest, and this will create a proper seal, and that's it. Then you simply need to glue these parts together. And again, first, you do not glue the bird. It's holded in place with some kind of a string, a leather strap, things like that. But you do need to glue these, the end, the middle, and the top element, because you need to create a tight seal between these elements, so that there won't be any air leaks and the flute will actually work. What I'm using is Army Painter's Battlefield basing glue, because I do sometimes paint Warhammer miniatures. It's similar to wood glue. Basically just take it and squeeze it squeeze a small amount at the bottom of the slot, and that's it, and put it in the female slot. Straighten the element so that the finger holes are in the straight line, and grab some tissues to wipe the excess that will eventually be squeezed out. Oh. Just like that, and leave this piece to dry for about 20 hours or so. And once this is done, once the three parts are glued and dried, the seal is tight and the flute is airtight, and it will actually work. So basically these models are Creative Commons. This basically means that you can print these and use them anywhere you want, as long as you do so non-commercially. The models are licensed Creative Commons by NC&D. Attribution, non-commercial, no derivatives. It's a hard word. Basically, you should give credit to the creator, which is me, but only if you share these models online, for example. If you have printed them, well, it would be nice if you would tell others where you found them. But that's it. Non-commercial, well, you cannot sell these prints. You cannot sell the models and you cannot sell the prints. But you can print these flutes and play them commercially. That is allowed. So you can record music and play concerts for monetary gain with these instruments. That is perfectly fine. You simply cannot sell the models themselves or the prints. And no derivatives. You cannot, you remix these into something else that you would, for example, sell commercially. So this is the general license for everyone. If you do some kind of school projects, or you want simply to build these instruments and to give them away completely for free, that is perfectly fine. I do offer commercial license via my Patreon, so it's patreon.com/flutecraft. I do offer two types of subscription. One is the basic, it's about $5 a month, and the other one is commercial license, which is $20 per month. And this commercial license allows you to print these models and sell them in any number you want. Basically, you pay the license $20 a month, and you can print as many flutes as you like and sell them for any price you want.